and welcome to this class. Today we're going to be focusing on a series of movements that help prepare us for half moon. So if you have a block handy, that would be great, but you don't necessarily need it. Let's get started. So you're going to come to lie on your back with your feet flat on the floor, the knees up to the sky. Just give yourself a few moments to settle in here. And you don't necessarily have to be still. As you start to settle, maybe you want a bit of a rock through the knees, the pelvis. Maybe you want to give yourself a bit of a stretch, reaching arms up overhead. And then as you slowly bring yourself into stillness, can you become aware of your body? Noticing the ground beneath you. Really becoming aware of the areas of your body that are in contact with the earth. And then becoming aware of the areas of your body that are lifted away. And then just gently moving your attention to your breath. Noticing how your natural breath feels in your body. You can notice whether you're breathing through your nose or your mouth, into your chest or your belly, and whether your breath is slow or quick. And as you become aware of your natural breath, it gives you this moment in time to bring you into your room, onto your mat, and into your body. So that everything else that's going on in your life right now just gently melts into the background as you focus on yourself and your body. And then we're gently changing the breath by wrapping hands around rib cage, so fingers face forwards and thumbs face back, and you start to breathe in and out through your nose. And you're sending your breath into the sides of your body where your hands are resting. So breath starts to move across your torso here. With every inhale you take, can you feel the expansion through the rib cage? And with every exhale, can you feel the softening? Allowing yourself to take a few moments to focus on the breath and to feel the sensations in your body here. And then feel free to keep this breath going, or you can let it go, depending on how it felt for you today. But can you bring your arms down by your sides now? Think about your lower belly for a moment, just pulling it down and across towards your hip bones. And as you create this activation through your torso, through your core of pulling belly down and across, can you then pull your right leg off the floor? So bending at the knee, moving from your hip, you've got a 90-degree angle as the leg lifts. And then we march the leg so that the right leg comes down, the left leg lifts. Keeping that intention of pulling belly down and across to really activate the deep core muscles as you continue to march the legs. Perhaps you can notice here how it feels through your hips and through your core. Being mindful of how your lower back feels, can you really think about pulling that lower belly down and across? And then next time the right leg comes up into the air, can you pull your left hand to your thigh and then create resistance. So your left hand pushes into right thigh and thigh pushes into hand. And as you create that resistance, you just keep pushing. Can you notice how it feels through your right hip flexor? And then you release and we go to the other side. Your left leg lifts, right hand comes to left thigh. You push thigh into hand, hand into thigh, create that resistance, keep pushing. Notice how left hip flexor feels. And then gently release. Lovely. From here, can you pull your feet just a little bit closer towards your pelvis, tuck your tailbone and squeeze your bottom to lift the hips up into the air. And then we drop halfway, push through the floor and squeeze the bum to lift the hips back up. And you keep repeating. Here, can you think about pulling your lower rib cage down towards your hip creases rather than popping up towards the ceiling? And maybe you can even create a little bit more activation by imagining that you're trying to pull your heels back towards your bottom, but they get stuck. We're going to do another 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Can we bring the hips back down to the ground and then slowly roll onto one side to come all the way up to hands and knees. And when you get there, let's take a few moments just to circle torso over the top of the hands and to bring yourself into your body in this position. So how does it feel in hands and knees? How does the ground feel beneath your hands, beneath your knees? Changing the direction. Noticing the sensation of the circling through the wrists, the weight changing through the hands. And then just slowly working your way back to neutral. Can you bring your right hand over to the left side of your mat? So you're a little bit wonky through the torso. And then your right leg is going to start to circle in space. Knee bent, knee circles, but you're moving from your hip joint here. And it might feel a little bit wobbly or unsteady, and that's okay. We're just really testing that proximal stability, core stability. Changing the direction of those circles. And then coming back so that the knee comes down to the ground. Right hand back so that you're parallel with your arms, but this time right leg is going to go long behind you. And can you think about moving your hip so that the right hip stacks on top of left, and the chest kind of opens towards the right side of the mat, and then you pull it back down. You lift, and then pull it back down. What's quite nice here is to imagine that the front of your right hip has a torch, and the light is beaming towards the ground, and then it beams towards the right side of your mat as you lift it. We're going to do 2 more here. 1, 2. Bringing that knee back down to the ground. Can you create cat-cow here? Moving through the spine. You can go whichever direction feels best for you. Really going slow, allowing the movement to ripple up through the spine as you move between extension and flexion. One more round. Really noticing how that feels through your body. And then you gently come back to neutral spine. Left hand walks over to the right side of the mat. Left knee starts to circle in space. Moving from the hip, mobilizing that left hip joint. Really noticing how that feels. Maybe there's some little clicks or cracks. Can you allow the movement to massage that out? Change the direction. And bringing that left knee back down to the ground. Left hand walks back to neutral. Then we take left leg long behind us. Lift the leg off the floor and think about stacking hip on top of, left hip on top of right. Back to center. Stack. Center. Keep going. Last 2. And 1. And I'm bringing that knee back underneath you. So once you come back to that hands and knees position, can you go through cat-cow again, really noticing how the spine feels as you round. Can you really push the floor away from you with your hands, creating as much space as possible through the back of your body. And then as you come into cow, really lifting tailbone, allowing belly to drop. Maybe squeezing shoulder blades together to create more space through the front of your chest. Moving between those 2 in your own time. Noticing how it feels in your body. One more round. And then next time you come back to neutral, can you tuck your toes, send your hips up into the air, downward facing dog. Lift right leg in the air, bend the knee, circle from the hip again. Just noticing how that feels through the hip, through the upper body as you push the floor away from you. And then lengthen the leg nice and long up towards the ceiling. And staying in downward facing dog, but you're going to pull your knee towards your chest. So you squeeze it in, and then you lengthen the leg. Pull and squeeze, and then lengthen. One more, squeeze in, and lengthen. From here, we're going to step right foot up to the top of the mat between the hands. Drop that left knee to the ground, lift yourself all the way up. Reach arms up overhead, interlace your fingers, and then reach up and over to the right, creating length through left side body. Can you breathe into left rib cage here? Slowly coming back up to the top. We're going to take hands to right thigh, so keep them interlaced. Hands come to right thigh, tuck the back toes, and take the back knee off the floor. From here, shuffle weight into your right foot and then come back to center. So you're moving forwards and back, taking more weight into right leg and then releasing. Keep that kind of CPR press down onto your right thigh. Next time the weight comes into your right leg, we're going to float left leg up into the air. Warrior three. Find a little spot to look at on the floor. If you wobble and fall, just feel free to shake it off and come back in. From your warrior three, you're going to bring your left leg underneath you, fold over your legs. Give your hips a little wiggle. And then push through the feet and slowly roll up through your spine to come to stand. And once you get to standing, your right leg is going to be your standing leg again. But this time allow the left leg to kind of hover off the floor. And you can do this standing or on your block. So if you've got a block, step on the block with your right foot. And then imagine that you are a dancer in one of those music boxes. So you're twisting to open towards the left and then back to the front of your mat. So we twist and then close off. Twist, close off. One more. And then release. Step off your block, fall back over your legs. Take a breath. And then we're going to step both feet to the back of the mat, come back into downward facing dog. Push the hands into the ground, left leg lifts up. Bend the knee, circle left knee around in big circles. One direction, and then the other. And then you're lengthening that left leg all the way up into the sky. Keep your body and torso in downward facing dog, but squeeze left knee into chest. Pull it up nice and tight, and then lengthen. Squeeze, lengthen. Squeeze it up. And lengthen. Left leg's going to step up to the top of the mat between the hands. Drop that back knee to the ground. Lift the arms and torso all the way up. Interlace fingers, lift those knuckles towards the ceiling and then up and over to the left. Breathe here. Send breath into right rib cage. And we're going to bring hands, once you come back up to center, bring your hands to that left thigh. Tuck the back toes, take the back knee off the floor. And you're playing around with moving weight into the left foot and then back, forwards and back. How does it feel to put more weight through the left foot? Can you try and connect to the triangle of pressure so that ball of foot lands underneath little toe and right back in your heel is pushing down. Next time you take the weight into the left foot, maybe you can lift right leg into the air to come into warrior three. Keep pressing hands into thigh. Slowly bring the right leg underneath your right hip, next to the left, so that you can fold over your legs. Take a little shimmy and a little breath here. Take a moment to notice how legs feel. Pushing through the feet, you're going to slowly roll back up through your spine. And when you get to the top, you're just grabbing your block, or maybe doing this on the floor if you don't have one. You're going to stand on the block with your left foot. Right leg hovers, and then it's as if you are like a dancer in that music box again. You're opening up, and closing. And you're allowing the pelvis to kind of roll on the top of the left leg. Allowing the hips to stack. One more. And then come back to the top of your mat, folding over your legs. Give your hips a little wiggle and a shake. Bend the knees, plant the hands, step yourself to downward facing dog. Take the hips all the way up into the air. Push through your hands to create length through the spine. Take a breath. Left leg is going to lift all the way up into the air and step left foot up to the top of the mat between the hands. And then can you bring your block in front of your left foot on the highest level. You're going to lift your right leg off the ground to come into a little supported warrior 3. So left hand comes onto block. And then slowly allow the right hip to open, to come into your half moon. You might have to rearrange that bottom block. And maybe top arm lifts. If you fall out, feel free to come back in, try again. And then you slowly release. Right leg comes down to the ground, both hands to the ground, step back to downward dog. Give your hips a little shake and a wiggle. Right leg lifts high into the air, and then step the right foot up to the top of the mat. Can you bring your block to the front of your mat? Bring right hand to block, step the left leg up into the air. And then you're going to transition so that your left hip opens up and starts to stack on top of right. And maybe we wobble all over the place. Create activation through the left leg by pushing into your heel. Maybe left arm reaches to the sky. Wonderful. We're going to release the foot down to the ground and the hands down to the ground. Step right foot back to meet left, come into child's pose. Take a couple of breaths. As you rest here, can you just start to notice how the hips feel? Notice the sensations that are running through your body. And come back to the areas of the body that are in contact with the ground. Really allow them to soften and sink down into the floor. Slowly moving from child's pose into a comfortable position for relaxation. So maybe sitting or lying on your back, just taking a few moments in rest, so getting really nice and comfortable, closing down the eyes or softening your gaze. Allow your jaw to soften. Body to relax. And just giving yourself a few moments of complete rest. just slowly bringing some movement back into your body, wiggling fingers and toes, allowing that movement to evolve into something bigger, maybe a big body stretch or a squeeze of the knees into your chest. And eventually we're all going to meet up in a comfortable seated position, getting there however feels best. And once you arrive, we're going to finish the class by bringing hands onto the chest and taking a moment in gratitude. So can we thank our bodies for coming to the mat? Thank our minds for calming down. And thank our breath for always being there to support us. And so together we're going to take a breath in through the nose and a sigh out through the mouth. Breathing in, sighing out. And then we're ready to step back into our day. Thank you very much for joining.